Alright, what is up YouTube? This is Sane. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another tier list. I know I did a tier list kind of recently. Whatever. I think that this game, thoughts can change, you know, new meta things developed. It's a new game, so the meta develops pretty quickly. We discover new things, new sets, new opinions. And there was also a patch, so kind of want to share my thoughts afterwards. I honestly might just start doing a tier list every week. Kind of see how things change, if anything changes. This is both my thought. This is like this tier list and how I make tier lists are both a combination of my own thoughts as well as just what I've seen, what I've heard from better players, like top players and stuff. I watch a lot of videos, watch a lot of streams, do a lot of spectating and research in this game. So this isn't just my opinion. This is kind of a gathered thoughts of everything that I've gathered and stuff. But of course, there is a little bit of my opinion in here because, I mean, tier lists aren't really like concrete, but whatever. So this is what I've seen. This is kind of the thoughts. If you're interested and have any like comments, concerns, questions, etc., put them in the comments below. And let's just go ahead and get started. So I have seen. So this is okay. Let me start with this. Part. I have seen a lot of tier lists that go all the way down to D tier, and I, for the life of me, cannot justify putting any character in this game in a C tier or a D tier. I cannot do it. Cannot do it. This game has so many good characters. This game is very, very balanced. There's clearly better characters and clearly worse characters, but the thing is, with a good team comp, with a good play style, good positioning in lane, like, you can play any character in this game. No one's unviable. Like, you could do it. You can reach master with any character. It's not like there's not like low tiers in this game. Yeah, so there's nothing lower than B tier. So B tier is the lowest tier. And I'm going to explain my tiers a little bit here. So the S tier is going to be like, this is the meta. Like, these are the best characters. These are the best characters of their role, like attacker, all-rounder, stuff like that. And also just like their position. You know, this is the best character in this lane. This is the best character in the jungle. This is like the best character in yada yada yada. That's what S tier is. S tier is the cream of the crop, tip of the top, super meta stuff. A tier is the great second choices, like all these Pokemon are super good. They're just outshadowed by the ones at S tier. And then the B tier are the ones that just have more weaknesses than the rest, but they're still just like good Pokemon. So that's it. You could say like the meta tier, the viable tier, the pretty decent tier. You can even just call it top tier, high tier, mid tier. Let's go ahead and do that. The top tier is the S, the A tier is the high, and the B tier is mid tier. But like, yeah, that's how we're gonna do this. So I'm just going to go in order of how this tier list maker has all the characters like this, and we'll go from there. Alright, let's start off with Venusaur. So Venusaur is going to be a B tier. Often kind of seen as one of the weakest characters by a lot of people, mainly just because he doesn't have the same kind of crowd control that other attackers have, and doesn't have the get out of there kind of escape options that other attackers have. Solar Beam and Sludge Bomb both just got good cooldown buffs to the point now where you can like start firing solar beams off a lot. The poison effect from Sludge Bomb deals more damage, and the Petal Dance is also gives you more movement speed. I think that's what the researchers shown. Some people are sort of kind of testing that stuff. But yeah, Venusaur, really good long range sniper. The Solar Beam Sludge Bomb set is still good for long range, and the Petal Dance Giga Drain set is good for being kind of up close and personal, staying alive, being really bulky. Character works with a lot of different items. A very flexible character overall, but just lacks the options to really make any of the sets as good as it should be. For example, like that Giga Drain, Petal Dance, like up close set is just kind of outdone by like Ninetales with Aurora Veil and her stuns. The long range game is just outdone by characters like Gardevoir and Cinderace and stuff like that. Just very just kind of outdone by the rest of the attackers. Isn't like crazy special. Still good. Still like has this playstyle that you can work with and stuff. But lands himself in B tier. Gengar. Gengar is one of the most nerfed characters in this last patch, but it doesn't really do anything. So first disclaimer: the Hex bug, where you couldn't use Hex, like from when you got Hex Plus until you got Sludge Bomb Plus or something like that. It was some weird bug. That's been fixed. So Gengar is back. They did nerf Hex a little bit. They just kind of nerfed some like invulnerability and took the damage down a little bit, but I've tested it. One of my good friends, mains Gengar, he's tested it. And I just see so many people just like test it out, and like Gengar's fine. His damage is fine. This character is still an amazing jungler, can 1v5, you get the Sludge Bomb hexes. If anything, he's a little bit better now, because the Shadow Ball Dream Eater set is now like a viable, like Shadow Ball Dream Eater is probably down here in A tier. Honestly, it's a great single target, really strong damage. Good sneaky assassin build, gives him a little tankiness because Dream Eater heals him and stuff. He's so good at soloing objectives, so good at just murdering people. Is like the highest damaging character in the game, outside of like Lucario and Cinderace. And Cinderace got a little nerf too, so like, yeah, he's one of the highest damage characters. Has a slow jungle start, but really scales once you get level 7. And just the higher level you get, the more he scales. Once he gets his ultimate, it's really scary. You get the plus Sludge Bomb and Hex Plus, you're dealing so much damage. You can solo objectives, can solo Dreadnoughts, solo Rotom, solo Zapdos, can steal Zapdos so well. Just such a strong character still. The nerfs really didn't hit that hard. If anything, it gave him another set to use, so you can use the Dream Eater Shadow Ball set if you're going to be like in lane. That's what I would use. That's what I've liked that set personally when I played him in lane. That's what my friend Big Red has been doing when he's when the Hex Bug was going, even when he's laning and stuff like that. He's run Shadow Ball Dream Eater for that better like single target stuff, or not better single target, but still strong single target stuff. So he's got a little bit more flexibility to him now, basically the same as he was pre-patch. Not a huge, like a little bit of a nerf, but not a huge drastic change. Super deadly character, definitely going up here in S tier. Definitely just the scariest and the strongest speedster, at least, and one of the best junglers in the game. Mr. Mime. Now, Mr. Mime is such a weird character in this game because he could totally be S tier, but as a support role, there's just someone who does something that he cannot do better. But Mr. Mime is a very flexible support Pokemon. Barrier Confusion is basically is the way to go. The barriers are just so good at disrupting people, trapping them in, keeping them away. You could really play with your teammates. If you have a melee character, you want to trap them in with a barrier so they can't get away. If you're playing with like an attacker, a long range attacker, you can use your walls to keep them out and let your teammate just do their things, slap them from long range. Confusion, if you hit him into a barrier or hit him into a wall, deals like half their health. He does so much damage. So not only is he supporting with team positioning and disrupting, he also just supports with high damage. Great ult as well. Should honestly go in S tier. Like, he can play this kind of defender support disruptive mix. Really solid. Really annoying to deal with, but just barely doesn't land himself in the S tier. Just because if you're going for supporter, or if you're going for like a blocker, you've got a better character in that. Who's the next character I'm going to talk about? Spoilers. And if you're going for like a supporter, you're basically just going to go for Elagos with healing. Like, it's just really weird threshold where he's kind of just like there. Like, he works. He's definitely can be meta. But when you're kind of looking at the full like 5 Pokemon build, he kind of just odd mans himself out because he's trying to do almost too much. Something like that. Very solid Pokemon. Snorlax is S tier. S tier for Snorlax. This Pokemon, block, heavy slam, is crazy. Block is crazy broken. You control a lane so well. You can control team fights so well. You can just block people away from everything. Block a whole squad off of a goal. Heavy Slam has ridiculous range, too much power, like too much strength. Heavy Slam hits it way too hard, and he just doesn't die. He does more damage than he should. He's got a good getaway option with Heavy Slam too, like he can block and Heavy Slam and just get away, so he's so hard to kill. It's just the perfect brick wall for your top lane attacker or your bottom lane attacker to kind of sit behind, and he can just basically carry a lane. He can hold down a lane by himself. He's good at stealing objectives. Snorlax is just the support character and the defensive wall character in this game. Like, it's Snorlax all the way, baby. Snorlax with Cinderace is broken. Snorlax with Ninetales is broken. Snorlax with like Lucario is broken. Gardevoir, Pikachu, Cramorant. So good in lane. So good in lane. The best lane like defensive character there is in the game. Need I say more? Let's talk about Gardevoir, baby. Gardevoir, early game is rough. Early game is for sure rough. Until you get about to level 6, once you get either Psyshock or Future Sight and turn into Kirlia. As a Ralts, your early game is pretty rough. Gardevoir isn't the best in jungle, so you're typically going to be typically gonna be in a lane, playing off like your Snorlax or your Mime or somebody to kind of help you out, trying to get as much XP as possible and level up as quickly as possible. Now, once you get Sight Shock, you're dealing a lot of damage. Once you're doing Future Sight, you hit people, you get that cooldown, you can do a lot of damage. And then once you turn into a Gardevoir, or once you get Moonblast, I think it's like level 7. I can't remember when she gets me. Let me actually check this. I don't want to give false information. I play Gardevoir all the time, and I like forget when she gets her stuff. Let me check this. I have the game on in the background, so you get your first move at level 6 and your second move at level 8. So it takes you a little while to get going. But once you get Psyshock or Future Sight, you're doing a lot of damage. And then once you get Moonblast or Psychic, you're typically running Moonblast. You get that crowd control with the stun, great damage, and you just start scaling. Once you get from level 6 and onward, you really start scaling. And Gardevoir's endgame is one of the strongest. Once you turn into a Gardevoir, you have your ult, you have Moonblast, Psyshock. You're dealing so much damage. You're super squishy, but you play so long range. Really good, like, long-range sniper. Just, like, kind of better than, like, what Snorlax or what Venusaur does. Honestly, is on track to kind of become a meta character. There's just a couple characters that do it better. She doesn't have the crowd control. She doesn't have the escapability that the other, like, S-tier attackers have. That just plants her down here in A-tier. But she's super, super strong. One of the best Pokemon in the late game, without a doubt. An absolute nuke. Absol. Absol is a very weird Pokemon to rank right now because all the other speedster that was kind of underwhelming. So Gengar, fantastic speedster. I'm gonna talk about it. Zeraora, fantastic speedster. Talonflame was the weakest speedster before this patch, but Talonflame got a huge buff to Acrobatics and Aerial Ace. Okay, I'm gonna talk about these two together. I need to talk about these two together. So Talonflame, Acrobatics got buffed, Aerial Ace, Fly all got buffed. Deals a lot more damage. Early game clear of the jungle is really, really good now. Has the best mobility, so it's really good at ganking and backdooring people. Really solid assassin. And this is basically everything that Absol is good at. Now Absol's early game is still a little bit stronger. And his damage might be a little bit better at first. But the issue with Absol is he flatlines so hard. So hard. Once he gets to endgame, he's just the exact same as he was during the mid game, while you're now fighting endgame monsters like Gardevoir, Garchomp, and Charizard, even just other characters that are so good in the endgame. Absol doesn't really carry through. He kind of just falls off in the mid game and doesn't really go. Like early game, amazing, but his team fight potential is just not there. Like his ult is good for team fights, but that's about it. He's really just good at that one-on-one encounter. But even then, people are starting to realize that if you just turn around and fight the Absol so he can't attack it from the back, a lot of times you kind of just beat him. And I love Absol. He's my main speedster that I play. I love him a lot. I think he's really, really fun. But honestly, he's going to come down here in the B tier. He's not even the second best choice anymore. I mean, there's still some weird things that people are trying to figure out with him. Super strong. Yeah, like I'm saying, the B tier has a lot of really strong Pokemon. But Absol just kind of ends up here. He's a jungler all the way through. He can't really lane. He's just not supposed to be in lane. He's supposed to be in the jungle. And just with other jungle choices being better now, like Talonflame is now just maybe better than him overall. And Gengar, you've got all the all-rounders can jungle. You've got some of the attackers that can jungle really well. Absol's kind of this weird place where some people really enjoy playing him. He can be really good. He can work really well. But just when comparing all of them together, you kind of have to think like, okay, opportunity cost. Why shouldn't I use this other one who's going to hold up late game better and do similar things? Yeah. So Talonflame's going to come up here in the A tier for that better late game, still really good early game, amazing backdooring, has the team fight potential with an ult that pushes everyone away. Fly is a really strong AoE. Even like Aerial Ace and Flame. Aerial Ace can get behind people and kind of has an AoE like fan. Well, Absol stuff is all single target, and he's all single target. Talonflame's got this AoE kind of crowd fight potential here, even with Flame Charge going through a couple people. Once you get a plus, you're lowering their defenses, which can just pair well with your attacking Pokemon. Yeah, Talonflame just kind of He's kind of taken Absol's spot as that early game jungler, that really high mobility jungler clear. Absol plants down here, and Talonflame puts up in here, kind of lands up here in A tier. All right, let's get to an all-rounder. We got Garchomp. Garchomp is a very weird Pokemon. He's probably got the weakest early game, and definitely relies on being in the jungle to kind of clear that. If not in jungle, it needs to be in the bottom lane so he can soak up as much experience as possible. Gabite is not a threatening Pokemon. Gible is such a non-threatening Pokemon. Only when he's Garchomp is he really doing a lot of damage. The basic attacks, once you get to like level 5, you're just spamming the basic attacks really quickly. Slap on a muscle band like a scope lens. You can do some really good damage. Really good at objective clearing. And once you get Garchomp, kind of in the late game, in the second half of the game, the later game, you are a big threat. Rough Skin is no joke. It really takes a lot of damage away from these melee attackers who are trying to beat you up. But he's also so susceptible to being kited. Just has a lot of weaknesses. Just has almost too many weaknesses compared to the other well-rounders, compared to a bunch of other junglers, late game threats. That is going to kind of land down here in the B tier. His ultimate, which people thought was really scary, you can actually just flash away and kind of run away from. Or you could really just walk into him because Garchomp's ult is so awkward and like hard to control that he's forced to hop over you. So sometimes you could just, if you just kind of walk right into him, he's going to hop over you and miss. And he's going to hop back and you kind of just keep walking into him again. And he's just going to jump over you. Like there's so many times where I've done it to a Garchomp. I've seen people just walk into a Garchomp and only get hit by like one of his things or even none of his things. So like his team, his like 5v5 potential is starting, people are starting to find the flaws in it. So things he used to be like the king of and what he was really good at, now he's kind of like getting figured out. Somewhat of a weaker Pokemon. Still can like be really scary end game threat. But early game, abysmal. Probably the weakest early game in the whole cast. So. Lucario, S tier. The buffs, or the bug fixes, so there was something with his auto attacks after Power Punch, dealing a lot more damage than they were supposed to. But I'm a Lucario main. I've got friends who are Lucario mains and Masters. I've seen a lot of Lucarios. Lucario's fine. His damage is still through the roof. Power Up Punch, Bone Rush, still so strong. Like the auto attacks being weaker, yeah, sure, whatever. That wasn't the reason he was broken. It's Power Up Punch. Power Up Punch is like the best move in the game. Lucario's just crazy. He's amazing in the jungle. He's amazing in lane. He's super consistently threatening throughout the entire game. His Unite move is trash. His Unite move is horrible. But that's it. Everything else is amazing. Quick Attack Meteor Mash to start off the game. Really good for that early game pressure. He's got a push with Meteor Mash. Quick Attack for a dash. Like he is so good in melee. He could definitely be like stuffed out with a character like Ninetales, a lot of range, crowd control. It can be difficult for him to deal with in lane. But he works, he's so flexible too because he works in lane, in jungle, early game, mid game, late game. He's always consistently good. Probably the most consistent character in this game. Let's just be real. He's the most consistent character. Always threatening, always good. Super, super useful character. Definitely here in the S tier. Definitely here in the S tier. Crustle. Crustle is not Snorlax, and that's why he's not S tier. But Shell Smash X Scissor and a tank, a mobile tank, Crustle is probably the most niche Pokemon in this game. If we're talking about this side character, like weird, what am I trying to say? These weird builds, weird kind of wacky things you don't expect. Shell Smash Crustle is that character. He can jungle. A tank in the jungle, like, works very well. He can lane. He can lane with somebody who deals a lot of damage. You can use Rock Tomb, keep them in, work well with a melee character or a ranged character, either or. Kind of be like a baby Snorlax. He's got a great push too with X Scissor. You push people in the walls. Kind of does like the same mime thing. But Shell Smash really just changes this character in general. He is so threatening offensively. He's so tanky. It's just such a weird, wacky Pokemon that really throws people off. Very flexible. I kind of think of him as an all-rounder. He can be a lane defense. He can even kind of work as a lane offense. Like, put him in a lane with another offensive / supportive character like Ninetales or something, and he just kind of goes off. He could be a lane carry if he really wants to be. He could be a jungler if he really wants to be. Great rotations. Just really strong character. Like, if Snorlax wasn't here, you'd probably be seeing a lot more Crustle. That's just why he's here. It's really just because Snorlax. Greninja. Another attacker that's just in a weird spot. Doesn't have the long range compatibility that like Venusaur has, Gardevoir has. Doesn't really have crowd control. He's more of a sneaky melee / ranged hybrid character. Really interesting playstyle if we're talking about like kind of niche, interesting playstyles like with Crustle. Greninja fits that to a T. Really works the best in the jungle. Just to be like that sneaky assassin kind of thing. Horrible Unite move. It's a really awkward character because if you want to run a melee character, you're running like Lucario. And if you're running like a sneaky assassin, you're running somebody else. Like Absol, Talonflame, Gengar. It's such a weird Pokemon. People are still kind of figuring him out, but there's even one of the best YouTubers, one of the top YouTubers right now, PeakMD, is a Greninja main. He's like one of the best Greninjas in the world. And he kind of agrees. On his list, he's kind of just like, yeah, I feel like Greninja's A tier or he's B tier. He's just not top of the meta. He's just this weird, kind of awkward place. He doesn't really know what he's trying to do. He does some things well, but people just do him better. He's kind of just the worst version of Cinderace, if we're being completely honest. Like, if you're playing Greninja, just play Cinderace. It's kind of weird. Let's talk about Charizard. Charizard is a lot like Garchomp. A very weak early game. Scales really hard to the late game. But he has gotten some nice buffs. Burn now does a lot more damage when he on his Flamethrower. Fire Blast. Fire Punch now has a little bit more of a throw to it. I think that's what people have seen. They're trying to do some research on that. And Fire Blast and Flamethrower have a lot less cooldown now as well. Charizard is great in jungle. He's great in lane. He is a threatening Pokemon who can kind of play this melee / ranged mix, kind of like Greninja does, but he plays this zone around him very well. Does a lot of damage with his basic attacks. Can go in and team fight. His ult is pretty crazy. He basically just gets free auto attacks while he's really strong, and then he gets Seismic Toss to pick someone off, check him on the ground. He's great at clearing objectives. He just doesn't have the same flaws of like kiteability that Garchomp has. Has a little bit better of an early game because once you get like Fire Punches, Charmeleon, you're able to do something better. Works basically the same as Garchomp, but just is a little bit better than him. Still not the best like jungler, not the best all-rounder, but he's really solid now. Does good damage, so he's going to be kind of here in the A tier as like a good second pick. Like you could see Charizard's doing really well in some of your games, but he's kind of in the weird place. Maybe he could be down in B tier, like maybe people kind of see some of those flaws again and they're like, oh yeah, never mind. But some of the buffs are very nice. He's probably the best, the highest buffed character in the game with this patch, except for Wigglytuff. Just kidding, Wigglytuff is, but yeah, very solid all-rounder. Can jungle, can lane. Has a really rough early game, but late game is really fine. Wait, once he evolves into Charizard, he's totally fine. Zeraora. Zeraora is in a weird spot. Could honestly be S tier. Discharge is ridiculous. Discharge kills so many people. Could just win team fights with just Discharge. The ult being nerfed is a good thing because the ult will just like one-shot people. And then Spark and Volt Switch are both great get out of there options, good approaching and retreating options. Really good, really good jungler who has some potential in the lane as well, but he's just kind of a worse Lucario. He's also just not as good of not as scary of a jungler as Gengar. So he's gonna land down here in the A tier. But it's like he could totally be S tier. Maybe we'll see Zeraora kind of start popping off a little bit more now that Gengar has a slight nerf. But even then, like, Gengar's not really changed that much. Yeah, he's kind of in this weird spot of, like, Lucario kind of has that team fight potential a little bit better than he does, who can also jungle. Gengar is just a little bit stronger of a jungler than he is. And then Talonflame is not as good of a jungler as he is, but plays a different role. than he does. He's like this back laner, while he's kind of more of the team fighter. Yeah, so he's gonna land here in A tier. Super solid A tier. Super solid jungler. Can lane if he needs to. Not the best laner, but he can do it. Very solid Pokemon though. Could definitely be up here in S tier. Like he's kind of on the borderline here. I'd say he's the best Pokemon of everyone in this tier for sure. Cinderace got a huge damage nerf, but man, it doesn't matter. He's so strong. He still does so much damage. He still just damage carries. He hits so hard. He attacks so fast. He crits all the time. His ult is really good for stealing objectives, killing people. Feint is still such a good get out of jail free card. Even though you have like half a second less invulnerability, still having a second of invulnerability by the push of a button is just, it's so good, man. He's fine. The patch really didn't hurt him that much. He's one of the best junglers. He's one of the best laners, aggressive laners. He definitely could use some crowd control, but hey, slap him behind Snorlax, and there you go. Clear S tier character. Was the best character in the game. Pre-patch and post-patch, he's looking like he's still up there, still kind of potentially holding that crown. Eldegoss is the other S tier. The best S tier support. Yes, the healing has been nerfed a little bit, but it still is the only character that can heal. And just it's the survivability of this Pokemon, the tankiness that this Pokemon has for like no reason. And is healing both itself and its allies with Pollen Puff. Pollen Puff's also hurting you. Or you could do like speed control with the Leaf Tornado, do some more damage. And even though Cotton Guard was nerfed, it still gives you shield, it still gives you a little bit of an HP buff. Just helps longevity, has a huge area of effect. This Pokemon is just like the support Pokemon of choice. It's the go-to. You know, if we start seeing that the nerfs really did hit it super hard, like so far people are kind of like, it doesn't hurt that bad, still probably S tier. There is a chance that it could drop down here to A tier and maybe Mime can kind of take over and have more of a role as a support Pokemon, but as of now, Eldegoss still has a niche that only she can fill, only has a role that only she can fill as a healer. If the data mine on Blissey is true, Blissey's going to be a healer. Blissey's probably going to go up here in S tier. Maybe Eldegoss will drop down, but that's not yet. Current meta has Eldegoss as the only healer, and she is great at it. Cramorant has a lot of damage, has an amazing ult, or Unite move, has really good crowd control with Surf and Hurricane, can even play kind of an assassin build with Dive and Air Slash. Lands up here in the A tier, great crowd control, great damage, great early game, scales really well, just because the Unite move is so strong. Like, it's so strong. If you just run an energy amplifier on this thing and like a buddy barrier, and just pop your ult in a big crowd of people, you just start killing things left and right. You're just like killing things, your fish are bouncing off people. When you get low HP, you're grabbing Pikachus, and you're throwing Pikachus out and stunning people. Great crowd control, great damage. Doesn't have the escapability, it doesn't have the best crowd control compared to like another attacker who's got some, but this bird is rising up right now. I've seen a lot higher opinions on this bird. Really scary and annoying to deal with. And that Unite move, baby. It's one of the best Unite moves in the game. For sure. Alright, let's move on. Pikachu. Pikachu's another weird one to rate in this game. He's got amazing early game. But really kind of plateaued late game, kind of same thing as Absol. But not quite. Unite move is super strong. Still offers great crowd control for team fights, AoE, sure hits. Great kit. Honestly, such a great kit that Pikachu doesn't land down here in the B tier. It's just definitely stronger than these Pokemon. And its early game is amazing. And kind of my own personal twist on Pikachu, I feel like Pikachu and Gardevoir are very similar Pokemon. It really just depends on if you want a stronger early game in Pikachu or if you want a stronger late game in Gardevoir. Really strong, high damage ults. They've got really strong AoE attacks like Psyshock and Thunder, or long range potential with like Electro Ball, Future Sight, and some good CC with like Thunder Shock or Thunderbolt and Volt Tackle throwing or stunning people. Yeah, Moonblast. Like these Pokemon are very similar. So Pikachu's gonna land up here in the A tier. with the Cinderace nerf, I thought we were going to see maybe a little bit more Pikachu usage. Maybe kind of fill that role, that high damage role. But so far, Cinderace hasn't really moved. But Pikachu, super solid Pokemon. Definitely a threat. Definitely a threat in lane. I haven't seen anything with Pikachu jungling, so I'm not sure how that goes. Probably okay, but really just a premier laner. Ninetales, S tier for sure. Crowd control, attacker / supporter hybrid. Aurora Veil, Dazzling Gleam is such a strong set. Not even super high damage, but just the stuns, the survivability, the annoyance that this character brings. It just carries a lane so well. Like Ninetales Snorlax was the meta top lane. Like the meta team was S tier, was these Pokemon here. Like the meta team that you saw basically in every single high level game was Snorlax, Ninetales, top lane, Lucario, Eldegoss, bottom lane, and Cinderace in the jungle. This Pokemon didn't get nerfed at all too, and like all these other Pokemon, like the support Pokemon got nerfed. Guess what she does? Some supporting. This attack Pokemon got nerfed. Guess what she does? Some attacking, some laning. Really strong character, even stronger than she was before. Definitely deserves to be up in the S tier. Just super good. One of the best players right now plays her. Averse, who was #1 ranked for a while. Not sure if he still is, or he's kind of floating around that range, but yeah. Go watch Averse, TTV Averse. Go watch him on Twitch. Just watch him play. You'll see how much of a lane carry Ninetales is. Just shuts down so many Pokemon. Shuts down Lucario. So good. Alright, 3 more. Wigglytuff. Support. Disruptor goes in there. Doesn't have the same keep away game as mine, but this thing is tanky now. These stat buffs to defenses and HP, this thing is tanky. And going in with Sync, you're putting people to sleep. Just, they don't move for a second and a half, so that's a free attack. It's a free move. You just gotta beat them up for a while. And Double Slap does some pretty okay damage. Some pretty good AoE. Double Slap and Dazzling Gleam are pretty good, like cone AoE damage. Goes in there, disrupts people, is really annoying to deal with. Cute Charm really messes up those melee attackers. They kind of can't run away because they get sucked back into you. They kind of have to run at you for a second. Really disruptive, really annoying. Right now, we've seen a lot of Wigglytuff since the buffs. People are trying her out, and a lot of success. Post patch, definitely down here in B tier. Probably the least powerful character in the game. One of the weakest characters in the game. But these buffs have really helped out. And on top of the Eldegoss nerfs, you know, maybe this kind of up there in your face disruptive playstyle can work out a little bit better. I'd still say, in my personal opinion, I think Mime's a little bit stronger, but they play different roles. You've got Mime as more of the back, kind of stays back and does his thing, while Wigglytuff goes in and does her thing. So, gotta be up here in the A tier. A tier is huge. I'll say it. A tier is huge, but it's fine. Another A tier threat, Slowbro. Surf, one of the best moves in the game. Great crowd control with the knockups, great range, good damage, honestly. Oblivious makes sure this thing just doesn't die. It's almost harder to kill than Snorlax. It might actually be harder to kill than Snorlax. And then Amnesia keeps it alive even more with healing and special attack buff, so it does even more damage. Or you can run Telekinesis, grab somebody, pull them out of the fight for a while in a team fight. People can just run up and jump them. His Unite move is great for grabbing somebody, draining their health, just letting your team just go jump on him. His crowd control, his stop ability, he can just counter so many threats. Like he can kind of just catch the jungler in their tracks. Like the jungler's coming in, he telekinesis them or he unites them, and they're just trapped and they're blown up. And that's like, okay, team fight is now drastically in our favor because one of their main attackers is gone. Super good character. If Snorlax gets shut down, and like Snorlax kind of just like dies off, Slowbro's jumping up and taking his place. Like I'm gonna say it now, Slowbro will jump up and take his place for sure. That's the only reason he's not S tier, is just because of Slowbro's, or just because Snorlax is just better. It's just the best thing ever. It's just like the best defensive character ever. It's the only reason that Slowbro doesn't jump up there. And Machamp, buffed Machamp. Submission is crazy. And now close combat is the stronger move. They did nerf down cross chop a little bit, so it's more just like, what do you want? Preference of cross chop for a dash for crits, or close combat for big ol' high damage AoE multiple hit attack. Machamp is horrifying, and I've heard a lot of talk that Machamp might become another staple of the meta. He's amazing in jungle. He is amazing in lane. He's so threatening. Machamp running at you with submission is horrifying, and his early game pretty weak, but bulk up is still pretty scary, honestly. And like once he gets submission, he's scary. So his early game's weak, but his mid game isn't. And then once he's Machamp, he's horrifying. And when he uses his ult, he's just gonna kill you. He's gonna go in, auto attack you, and then he's gonna use that like the auto, just wail on you, punch the out of you. Super scary Pokemon. Definitely deserves to be up here in S tier. Kind of plays a different style that Lucario does. Another great melee character. Definitely deserves to be here in S tier. And yeah, this is gonna be the tier list, guys. This is the thoughts. This is kind of my research right now. Just because these characters are in B tier, it doesn't mean you should stop playing them. I'm not gonna stop playing Absol. I'm having a lot of fun, a lot of success with Sucker Punch right now. I run Pursuit Sucker Punch. I love it. Try out Talonflame. Try out Wigglytuff. These Pokemon are amazing. Are like really, really good now. Same with Charizard. Pretty good now. And if you're playing someone in S tier, then good for you. You're doing the right thing. If you're playing someone in A tier, good for you. You're doing the right thing. If you're playing someone in B tier, good for you. I hope you're having fun with them. If not, pick an S tier. Pick something like that. Anyways, that's the video, guys. No, it was a little long. Sorry, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you think anyone's a little overrated or underrated or anything, please let me know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I'd love to hear how you're enjoying the game, who you're playing, stuff like that. So yeah, that's all for this week. See you next week with another tier list. This is Sane signing off. Have a good day, everybody.